Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Sydney, and if you are new here, this is just a place where we can talk about whatever I'm feeling like. True crime, scam stories, weird YouTube videos, which is what we're going to be talking about today. Last time we were here, we talked about tier 1 of the weird YouTube iceberg. If you haven't seen part 1 of that video, I would suggest you watch it because it only gets worse from here. Just like last week, I'm going to just put out a viewer discretion advised warning for this video. Much like last time, we are going to be talking about subjects that might be sensitive to certain people. If you have trouble with, things like gore, sexual things like that, I would just maybe skip this video. One more thing before we get into it as well. Much like last week, I'm going to have all the links to the videos in the description below, as well as just like certain channels, important information that you might want to know about. So first off, in the second tier of the iceberg, we are going to be talking about the channel Meat Cannon. So this channel makes animation parodies for different shows and movies such as like Scooby-Doo, Family Guy, Toy Story, etc. There's lots of different things on his channel. So these videos contain really weird and dark animations that are funny, but they're also very strangely unsettling. For example, the video called You've Got a Friend in Me shows Andy from Toy Story, and he's like breaking all of Woody's friends to make Woody try to talk.
I want you to move. I saw you, Woody! I saw you in the toys playing with Sid!
When Woody finally talks to Andy to make him stop breaking all of his friends, it is revealed that anytime one of the toys talk, it gives the listener cancer.
You have cancer, Andy. When we reveal ourselves to be alive to humans, they contract cancer. You got cancer, Andy.
The toys all gather around Andy as he slowly dies. The scene cuts to Andy's funeral, where all the toys are there, and we see a child pick up Woody, and Woody gives the camera a creepy grin. And that's the end of the video. So this is an entry that I think a lot of us have seen, but might not know either the company or the backstory. This video is called This Is a Special Time, and it's a commercial. So I didn't actually know that this was an advertisement, but evidently it is an ice cream commercial for Little Baby's Ice Cream. In this video, we see a person. They are covered in white goo, and they are staring, unblinking at the camera while they're holding a big spoon. A monologue plays in which the person states how they feel so young and look so youthful because they eat Little Baby's ice cream, and how this is a special time.
I eat Little Baby's ice cream. It keeps me young. It keeps me light on my feet. I spring from activity to activity. I love my job. I love my life.
The person takes the spoon, shoves it into their head, pulls out a spoonful of themselves, and shoves it into their mouths. Well, this is extremely unsettling. Watching it many years later, it's just kind of silly. I remember being just like so creeped out, so like uncanny valley being triggered while I was watching this, but now rewatching this content, it's just kind of like, teehee. So Little Baby's Ice Cream was an actual company based out of Philadelphia. This company was in business from 2011 to 2019. They actually have some really cool ice cream flavors that I would love to try. A couple being Earl Grey Sriracha, vanilla cardamom cream, and pizza flavored ice cream. Their entire advertising campaign is really strange. And if you want a fun little rabbit hole to go down, just type in Little Baby Ice Cream advertising. It's wild, man. It's wild. So I'm just gonna quickly talk about Pam Tree's channel. This is another animation channel that has a very unique and strange way of animation and storytelling. This channel takes TV shows and movies and just boils it down to its main points while adding in little bits of humor and different art styles. It's really cool. It's hard to explain in such a short amount of time, so I highly recommend that you just go check out some of their videos. Again, the link will be below. Oh man, guys. It's time for blank room soup. So if you have been living under a rock and you don't know about blank room soup, I'm going to tell you about it. This video was uploaded in 2005 on YouTube by a channel called Renaissance Men. So this video shows a man in a pretty white and empty room, and his eyes are shielded from the audience with a black bar. He sits at a table eating soup with a comically large spoon. A Funko Pop-like character enters the room and begins to comfort the man. But the man doesn't find this comforting at all. He starts to cry as he continues to shovel soup into his mouth. After a while, another Funko Pop character comes into frame, and he also starts comforting the man. There's not much context to this video, it's just blank room soup. If you know, you know. There is some lore and theories related to this video, so we're going to talk about that a little bit. So an artist named Raymond S. Piercy actually created these characters as part of some of his performance art. Percy described his characters, which he called Ray Rays, as sort of a personification of Raymond himself. After Blank Room Soup was released, Percy made a video of his own, stating that a few of his Ray Ray costumes had been stolen and that he saw Blank Room Soup and was positive that those were his costumes. What Percy was confused about, though, is that the Ray Rays seemed to be acting very similar to the way that many of his Ray Rays acted. It's like they knew who Raymond was, knew the brand, and was able to copy it for this video, Blank Room Soup. I couldn't find if anything really came from this, if Percy was able to find his Ray Ray costumes or able to find whoever did post this video, but the answers were unclear from what I could tell. Another theory is that the man in this video was kidnapped and being forced to aggressively eat soup. A lot of people think that this video came off the dark web, but there's no real evidence of that, and I highly doubt that's the case. Some people did think that Raymond S. Piercy maybe made this video as sort of a promotional stunt for his own brand, but again, we don't have many answers because nothing was ever released saying such a thing. So, Blank Room Soup will just forever remain a mystery of a man just eating soup and crying, which is pretty iconic, I'm not gonna lie to you. Why do I feel like each tier is gonna have a video that I just absolutely hate and scarred me as a child? I just have a feeling. So this entry is actually just a short film called Dining Room, or There Is Nothing. This film was made by David B. Earl in 2006. This film shows a doll-like woman sitting at the end of a very long dining room table. Her eyes are closed. In front of her sits a bowl of what we can assume to be like soup or some sort of liquid. Behind her, there's a large window that show flames flickering in the background. She says something that we as the audience cannot understand before she falls face first into her bowl of soup. The view pans out and we can see that we, as the audience, are sitting at the other end of the table. Nothing happens for a very uncomfortable amount of time before we start to zoom back in to the doll-like woman. Once we get back to our original frame, she raises her head from the bowl and simply states, "There is nothing." And that's how the film ends.
There is nothing.
The filmmaker, David B. Earl, has stated that there's no true beginning or end to this video. It's just a loop. Earl stated that, "I wanted to blur the distinction between the two states, and to state the paradox by showing someone who is coming back from life or death and denies its existence, thereby fulfilling the paradox." I feel like I can usually appreciate things that are both creepy and very artistic, and this obviously has a very deep meaning behind it, but just the way that the actress moves in this short film and the background, just everything about it is so eerie and so creepy, and that's obviously the point that Earl wanted to get across, and he does it so incredibly well that it scares me to this day. If you watch nothing else or get nothing else out of this video, I highly suggest that you go watch that, because it will scare the crap out of you and you will also just be able to appreciate a really great piece of art. We're talking about it, it's here. We are going to be talking about Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared. If you didn't watch Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared when you were way too young and get really freaked out, then did you even have a childhood? So this YouTube series was created in 2011, which somehow both seems like yesterday and like 35 years ago at the same time. This YouTube series is sort of a parody of a normal kids show. There are puppets that sing and dance, and much like a kids show, there are lessons to be learned in each of the videos. We learn about creativity, time, love, technology, health and eating, and dreams. What more could you want? These lessons and these scenes always turn from something happy and kind of sing-songy to something much darker. For example, in my favorite episode about love, Yellow Guy is taught about love and is basically forced into a cult by a butterfly.
So here we are with all my friends, and they love you, all of them. This is your chance to start anew, and all we're asking you to do
is change your name.
clean your brain. Forget about anything you ever knew.
Just generally speaking though, Yellow Guy, Red Guy, and Duck are usually taught very important lessons, but are usually physically or mentally abused in the process. I suggest just going back and watching it because it is such like a nostalgia thing for me personally. Like, Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared. The songs are banging, the characters are fun, and we learn important lessons. Also, I think, if I'm not mistaken, they were gonna make another series. It happened like a while ago now, but I know they had like a Kickstarter. If I can find it, I'll try to link it below. But like, I think they were going to try to get out some new content, which would actually be very exciting. So this one is a new one for me, but I am so glad I got to watch it because it's just fascinating. This video is called Henry Eats. This video was created by Ben Wheel almost a decade ago. Like most other things, and like I've been saying this whole time, I highly suggest you go actually watch the video before watching this video because my words are obviously not going to do it justice. So this video starts with a disembodied head right next to a slide. The head waits eagerly as a little cute statue just comes sliding down the slide. The disembodied head in one giant munch just takes off the little statue's head, and its body just keeps sliding down the slide and goes into the abyss. This repeats until the camera zooms out, and we can see that this whole scene is taking place within the eye of a bigger man. This guy, he's dressed very dapperly, and he has this big old smile on his face. He's kind of handsome, I'm not gonna lie to you. And I think that this is Henry. The big smiley guy gets a spout and he attaches it to his head, and this strange liquid comes pouring out into a little mug. A side door opens and then we see another little guy. And this one has no legs, but he does have a big smile and he's also very handsome. Kind of reminds me of like I think it's supposed to be a dog, but it kind of looks like a guy, but it doesn't have legs, so it kind of looks like a dog. I don't know, you tell me. So this little guy drinks the liquid and then he goes back into his little hole. We then see the outside of the smiley man's house, and time is passing. And he's just standing there with a big smile on his face as time is like just whooshing by him. And then we see our third main character, and he kind of looks like a bird mixed with a dinosaur, but he's also very handsome. He immediately storms into the house, chomps off the head of what is like the kind of dog animal thing, and then he bites off the head of the big smiley handsome guy. And then it goes back to the first scene. So really there's not much I could find about like what this video is, why it was created. Ben Wheel, I think that's how you say his name, he has a lot of other really cool animations on his channel, but this one was the one that was suggested in the tier list, so that's the one I'm talking about. But to me, this video shows kind of like the never-ending cycle of life. The little characters, the ones on the slide and the disembodied head, are doing the same thing over and over again in a big loop. And when we zoom out to the big man in the house, he's also doing the same thing over and over again. We see time pass as he's just standing there. So I think it shows that there's always death, but then there's always new life as well. That's the best I could get out of it. But it's really cool. The animation is creepy, but it's also just kind of wholesome at the same time. Tier 2 is just full of a lot of bangers. The next entry that we're going to be talking about is Smile HD. This is by Mr. Davies MLP Animation, but it's most notably known as Smile HD. I'm pretty sure that if you haven't seen this video, like, you haven't been on YouTube before, because this one is so popular. There's not much to say about this, but it's basically like Pinkie Pie just beating the ever-loving shit out of all the other My Little Pony characters. She basically kills all of her friends. You see all their like guts and stuff out and just hanging out, and all the other ponies are like trying to defeat her one by one, but ultimately Pinkie Pie wins because she has the power of smiling and stuff, and that's about all I got for that one. Next, we're going to be talking about username 666. This video was posted in February of 2008 by Nana825763. That was hard for my pea brain to do. Be proud of me. This video, again, I'm not sure how famous it is. I've known about it for a while, but I'm gonna explain it to you nonetheless. So this video shows a very old style 2008 YouTube homepage, and we can see the user, whoever's on YouTube, just clicking the reload button a whole bunch of times. And at first we are not really sure why he's doing this. After about the 10th click, we can see that all the video names changed to 666. As we keep clicking the reload button, we see the white background slowly shifts to a more red and black colored background, and some of the thumbnails turn into these gory images that obviously we don't usually see on YouTube. I don't suggest watching this video if you have tryptophobia, because there are a lot of very holy images in this video, but the background kind of changes to that at some points in the video as well. So we continue to reload and reload until we see username 666 appear on the screen. Clicking on username 666 leads us to a channel with just only a few videos on it, and we click on one of them. This video that we start to see is not very specific. It just looks gross. At this point, it seems like the viewer has had enough of this. The user tries to go back, reload the page, shut down the browser, shut down the entire computer, but nothing is working, and the images are just getting more and more gross, and the sound's getting louder and louder. It's just overwhelming at this point. These images just keep getting grosser and grosser, and it's just getting more intense and more intense, and all of a sudden a hand reaches through the camera and it turns to those like technical bars. This video is super popular, and I think it still is, although it has less of a scary effect on us because we're so desensitized to things and it looks very old and very aged, but it's still a great piece of horror content, I think. I came across a couple threads discussing username 666 as a video, and some of the older comments were like, I think this could contain a virus, so maybe like don't watch it. And it's just interesting to see how horror has evolved since then and became so much more lifelike. But it's just cool to see older content that still is scary. If you like this video and horror content in general, I would highly suggest watching another one of Nana's videos called My House Walkthrough. My House Walkthrough is really scary, and I've seen some of the behind the scenes and things like that, and he literally made all the sets, everything by himself, and the video is so creepy. It's time to talk about Lasagna Cat. I'd seen a couple other YouTubers talk about Lasagna Cat, but I am so glad that I watched some Lasagna Cat videos myself, and I honestly got sucked into kind of a wormhole, because like, how have I never watched Lasagna Cat before? In each episode or video of Lasagna Cat, it shows a live action remake of certain different comic strips from the real Garfield comics. It's really funny because the comics are usually only like 3 panels long, so that lasts about 20 seconds of the video. But then there's usually like a music video of a really popular song, but it's like remixed to be like Garfield, and it's the Garfield live action characters, and they're just like playing instruments or like they're having a good time. It's just so delightful to watch. Something that's kind of unique about these videos that makes it kind of eerie is that after each punchline, there's always a very fake and very obvious laugh track that's played. And I'm going to talk about this a little bit later, but it definitely plays into the whole concept of this channel. What I believe is Lasagna Cat's most popular upload happened in 2017, and it was actually the last upload on the channel. So this video, called Sex Survey Results, is about 4.5 hours long, and it's the longest video on Lasagna Cat's channel. The meat and potatoes of this video is literally just John, Garfield, and Odie in a rotation, and they're all sitting at the chair reading their paper, and there's a knock on the door, and they say like, who's there? And then there's real people that have made recordings of themselves saying their name. And then the character opens the door, and it's just a mannequin, and it has the little cartoon bubble, and it says, you know, like, for example, like Sydney Eliza, 3 sexual partners. And then the character closes the door, and it loops and loops and loops for like 4 hours and 15 minutes. It's a long ass video. So at about the 4 hour and 20 minute mark, we see the last sex survey result. And it's John. He's sitting at his chair and he's reading the paper, and there's a knock at the door. He gets up and he says, "Who's there?"
John Arbuckle.
John Arbuckle. Who? John Arbuckle. 2.
The person that opened the door, the real John, says, "No, John Arbuckle 0, and closes the door in outside John's face. We can then see outside John. He suddenly looks older than he had before, and we see his perspective, and he looks inside the house through a window and sees just a normal orange cat. Not live action Garfield, not cartoon Garfield, but just a normal orange cat, which is strange because we haven't seen that yet. It's always the live action Garfield man in a suit. John walks away, finds a briefcase, and opens it to find a taxidermied cat. As we see John walking along, we hear Jim Davis, the author of all the Garfield comics, talking about his craft, his process, and how he thinks Garfield is funny.
Some days I wake up and go, I am funny today. You know, you're well rested, something, you're just a good mood, and you can write 2 or 3 or 4 gags that day. Or sometimes I'll take a week, and a week I can write a month's worth of gags.
John walks and walks until he's in a mountainous area, and he then sees a man covered in black and orange body paint, and he looks almost feral. This man then runs towards John, and poof, he just disappears. You see the man look at John, who's now just clothes on the ground, and there are worms crawling around. The man picks up the worms and just stares at them. We transition to a completely different scene, and this is of a Polish woman. She gives birth to a child in a bathroom stall, looks down, and tells the baby that it's evil and cursed. She says that this is a sick joke and that nobody is laughing before she runs out of the school bathroom. We then pan to see the baby in the bathroom stall. We're not sure if this baby is okay, if they're fine, but then we see that it's wearing a blue shirt and it opens its eyes. And then we see an orange cat walk across the bathroom stall and it cuts to black. And that's literally the last video of Lasagna Cat. So from what I can tell, throughout this entire series, we get the idea that the author of Lasagna Cat, the channel's creator, thinks that Jim Davis is very unfunny. Because throughout every single episode, we can see that this fake laugh track is added into reenactments of comic strips that aren't that funny. And it's really amplified by this last episode. We can see that Garfield is always there. Without Garfield, John is a loser, a nobody. And we can see that John becomes very old once he's not around Garfield anymore. And Garfield remains immortal. John soon turns to worms, I think meaning that he's probably dead and that he's irrelevant. But yet the man dressed up as Garfield still remains on. He is triumphant over everything. And even when we see a new baby born into this world, his own mother calls him a sick joke. Nobody's laughing. And then we see Garfield walking across in front of John as a baby. We can see that Garfield always lives on. That's just my personal opinion. I might be looking way too much into it. It might just be a silly, goofy channel, but it seems that there's a deeper meaning. I'd love to hear below what you guys think about it. Have you seen Lasagna Cat? Only comments about Lasagna Cat below. Thank you. All right, on to something a little bit lighter. We're gonna be talking about Racist Mario. This is very much giving Smile HD vibes. If you're a fan of Mario Kart or Mario in general, and you like strange videos, then you'll probably like this one. It's basically just Mario being like aggressive and very racist. It's kind of funny. He's just tearing people apart that aren't from his console. I don't know if it really belongs on this list because I don't think it's that weird. It's just kind of like a little left of mainstream. I was researching for this video way too late at night and I came across this next video and I was vibing so hard. This video is called Potato Knishes. You need to stop this video right now and go watch Potato Knishes. It's only a minute and 20 seconds long. Go watch it right now. This video is just a little pink guy. It's just a little guy. He has a little crown on his head, okay? And he is singing about how much he loves potato knishes. He just loves them. He loves making them. He also makes little squash balls and he makes blackbirds into centipedes. What else could you want? How could you not be happy when you know that this video exists? Tell me right now. I love him and he's doing God's work, and that's all I care about. Moving on. So the last entry on tier 2 of the weird YouTube iceberg, I don't think is actually that weird, but I am just going to talk about it just because. But it's basically just medical operation channels. This is very much different than all the other entries. It's just real life, which I guess is kind of scary. I watched one about a leg amputee patient and they were getting a leg implant, I think it was. I didn't watch it in its entirety because I just wasn't sure how gruesome it was gonna be, but it was actually pretty cool to see like the inside of the human body. And I was also really surprised because I always think of surgery as being this very like precise, careful thing, but they were just in there fucking shit up. They were like, we gotta move the nerves and the arteries and the veins and shit. This is why I could never be a surgeon. If you're interested in the medical field and you like that kind of stuff and you're not squeamish, it's pretty cool. It's a good way to spend a Friday night, I guess. Well guys, that completes tier 2 of the weird YouTube iceberg. This iceberg is kind of chaotic and I kind of love it. I just like exploring YouTube, the different videos that I have never seen, the different channels that I would probably never watch on my own. And I really hope that you guys enjoy this series too. After this tier is released, I'm gonna do a couple different videos, some side videos, and I'll come back to this if you guys are interested. Other than that, I hope that you guys have a great rest of your day. Keep being the bad bitches that you are. Love you guys. Bye.